We're starting over.
We'll save it for the Rumble channel.
Okay. Let's do the intro
all
again.
right. No. This intro was perfect.
No, I cut it out.
Are you serious? Why? You should have kept it.
Oh God. Nah, man. We gotta get more than 3 viewers, man. We can't have the YouTube gods rot us so early in our career.
All right, so Jose, we're gonna try this again, Jose.
You're probably gonna have to go on Reddit and chill it then, man.
No. Be fine. We'll let the algorithm cook.
The algorithm.
All right, welcome to 3 Seething Boomers, episode number 8. Special guest.
This was 2 Seething Boomers.
I
thought it was 2 Seething.
We got a special guest, so it's 3. The T is non-binary. It changes whenever it wants.
Wait a minute. What? Oh, we're gonna have to restart this one too.
No, we're fine. Non-binary is cool now. It's good.
All right. Who's our special guest?
Special guest, Mr. Jose, Mr. Dirt. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for releasing me.
What the heck is that?
That's my intro. You said have a boomer. There's like three boomers, right? I gotta have my boomer voice.
Oh my God! All right.
We're gonna have to restart this one too.
No,
No. Keep that in, bro. That's iconic. The 2 people that play Spyro the Dragon will get that reference.
Oh
my God! Our topic for today is Dragon's Dogma, which I know nothing about. Duke, do you know anything about?
Dragon, rock the dragon balls. Dragon, rock the dragon. Come get me.
That was my fucking shit, man.
Oh my
That was
God.
my fucking shit.
Oh my God, that awful heavy metal music, and we all like watched it thinking that's the hype is stuff.
Awful was great.
That Chala
Music was godlike.
Opening.
Music was beautiful,
godlike, bro. You just saying that because we were all 12.
Iconic. It was iconic.
Bro,
they
we
can
were 12.
Never do that
Come
again.
on.
That music was timeless. It's for the ages, all right?
Bro, we were 12.
You play that music right now in the club, I'm pretty sure everybody's going to start jumping, going crazy. You might have a couple of motherfuckers fight each other.
Yeah, because they're black weaves.
Oh,
I
there
saw
we
that
go.
once.
We got monetized.
I went to a Halloween party. Or a club, I guess. And there were black dudes dressed as Vegeta and Bulma. I saw that, I was like, bro, what?
Nah, man.
Party the dude was actually like 5'5", so he was actually black Vegeta.
He was actually black Vegeta? He was legitimate black Vegeta?
He made a scouter, bro, from scratch. He made the whole thing from scratch. The whole costume. Even his girlfriend dressed up like Bulma, black Bulma.
Do you remember the blackgoku.com?
Nah, I remember Dragon Ball AF, though.
Oh my God.
Wow.
What was that with the white hair or some shit?
Yes, and with like the sword, I believe he had, like a katana.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I just find it hilarious that this intro has like 5% of the Saiyan arc, and then 95% of everything else is from the movies that we wouldn't even get for years until Funimation take the whole thing and dub it on Toonami. And the best part is you could get this stuff in a video store on a VHS, but it was like terrible quality and awful subtitles too. Sometimes I wouldn't even cover the subtitles. You didn't know what the hell was going on. But we all enjoyed it because it was just a bunch of dudes and muscles punching the shit out of each other.
This is the Japanese one. Fly away!
Look at that. How iconic. The minute it says fly away, I'm already in the spirit of an adventure, bro. Look at that. No heavy metal music, just the cheerful intro.
Nah, man.
A man with his son on a flying cloud.
No, man.
Look, I need that heavy metal music.
Look at that. That dragon looks better than any dragon in Dragon's Dogma 2, bro. Come on.
Here we go.
Oh, speaking of Dragon's Dogma, here we go. So, Duke, do you have any?
Play that Dragon's Dogma in for free, bro. I'm telling you. Play it. I'm telling you, play into free Dragon's Dogma intro. See how
All
amazing
right.
that is. The minute you boot it up, the game already captures you. That J-Rock, bro.
Okay, man.
So The
An
Rock is
action
fine for
RPG
Dragon's Dogma, but
with
not Dragon
J-Rock.
Ball Z. The Rock music's fine for that.
Yeah, it's fine for this, bro. I'm telling you. The minute you boot up that game and you hear this, you already know you're in for an adventure.
Oh my god.
Here's a better question: is Isuna truly a hack? Are we gonna finally admit it now?
Yes. He locked his way into Devil May Cry 3. I'm ready to
Oh,
accept this.
all right. So can I take a step back really quick before we go any further? I want you guys to keep in mind that remember that fake fabricated beef that Itsuno tried to have with the guy that created what was it? I believe
It's just too loud.
Ninja Gaiden.
Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, remember Oatmeal Face guy?
Oh, Oatmeal Man, yeah.
Oatmeal
Yeah,
face.
I was
Oh my
because a
god.
lot of what people don't understand is that they both fabricated that little internet beef to make sales for both games. You know, and what they don't know is that Asuno was actually heavily influenced by the Ninja Gaiden team and like what they were doing. And like let's not lie to ourselves. You know, the first Devil May Cry was a tech demo from Resident Evil 4, and it had a little bug in it that kept the enemies airborne, and that was which is what eventually led to Devil May Cry. You know, so it was a beautiful mistake. And we still don't know who created Devil May Cry 2. You know, so a lot of people got past, you know, with flying colors. You know, we almost let them get away with shit. You know, so it's a little weird.
By Oatmeal Face, do you mean Tomonobu Itagaki?
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Oh
guy
man.
who made
Are you
Dead
watching
or
my stream?
Alive beach volleyball and gave us a titty jiggle physics on the
So
Oh,
Xbox.
based.
That guy.
what? Yeah. So what's crazy about those titty physics that he was doing is that he was
They're
working
really
with all
good back
these.
in
Yeah,
2003.
he was working with all these top Japanese AV models, and like Jose said, he was using military technology to get the physics correct, the exact jump, the height of the breast, the roundness, everything. Yeah, he was using military technology. This motherfucker's crazy. He's like the Quentin Tarantino of video games.
Except
So
for
he's into
feet, it was
feet?
breast.
Yeah. He's not really into feet. He's just into breast. Yeah, that's it.
Did you play Dragon's Dogma at all?
The first one, yes, I did. I didn't beat the game. I got the game free when it
Oh,
was on PlayStation Plus. There goes Jose cursing me out already because I didn't beat the game.
no. I'm saying
Which what?
did you play the vanilla or did you play the game plus the expansion that came out like a year later?
No, I played the vanilla. I didn't get the plus expansion one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway. Vanilla's still vanilla. There's only a slight quality of life changes, but if you get the expansion pack, like I was saying in the chat earlier, you get a whole other dungeon to do stuff, and it really elevates the game from like borderline mediocre AA game. Which let's be fair, it's basically what it is. It's medieval Monster Hunter, but without everything being fleshed out. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like a AA game on a shoestring budget. However, with that expansion, it really elevates the game from like a 6.5 to an 8 in my eyes. So whenever you get the chance, because it is on Steam on occasionally on sale for like $5. So for $5, you're basically getting a game with I'd say about 150 hours of gameplay. If you play as every class and like do things differently, because every class is not really the same. They have their their own nooks and crannies and their own pros and cons.
It's funny that you're talking about Dragon Dogma now. I don't want to bring up this random game, but I've always felt that Capcom took whatever lessons they learned from Shadow of Rome and was very considerate of that when they were making Dragon's Dogma. I don't know if that statement really holds true.
They take a little bit from each game, honestly, and you can see it. I think they even admitted that they needed help with the guys in the Monster Hunter team with how to do like the climbing mechanics and stuff on certain monsters, so it didn't look goofy. It still looks a little goofy because it's a 2012 2013 game on a PS3 Xbox 360, pushing the darn thing to its limits, getting 20 FPS, sometimes 15 for goodness sake. At that point, there's only so much you could do, but they've taken inspiration from other games in their own like in-house and other teams and whatnot.
Because
So
I know
you are right in that regard.
I know there was another game that they did. I'm trying to remember the name, but I'm losing it now. Remember that
You mean
game?
Deep Down, which was like a video that they showed?
No,
That
well, apparently Deep Down was a legitimate project. It was actually playable on floor. There was a whole tech demo for it. But I'm talking about this other game. I think it was called Chaos Legion.
Yeah,
Do any?
Chaos Legion. Yeah,
Yeah, that's another game.
my buddy really liked that game. It seems like it had some pretty unique mechanics, like the whole minion summoning aspect of it, or whatever.
Yeah, and you can see like with that, that eventually turned to like what they have now with Dragon Dogma, when you can like add those other people in your party group,
Mm-hmm.
and like some of them are super overpowered and shit. Like I said, I played the game, but I didn't heavily invest myself into it. Obviously, Jose's the more knowledgeable one here, but we're not ready to let Jose rant just yet. We're just warming it up.
So like,
it was the
I
prelude.
I played a little bit of it. I got it on Switch, and I got up to the part where the Griffin flies down in the first game.
Okay.
And the Griffin like kicked my ass, and I was like, like I wasn't sure. I went to go in the dungeon, and I was messing around in the dungeon. Then I just kind of got bored of the game. Um,
You know,
and then I did play the MMO version, and they had like different classes on there and stuff. But like, I didn't understand what any of the quests meant or like where to go, and I was just killing lizards in a little cave, and then I'd just run around for a long time. I found a big orc, and I started climbing on him, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I just it's pretty much my extent of knowledge with Dragon's Dogma.
yeah, I just mostly just ran around and just probably tried to do a couple of quests.
That's it.
I
That's the
don't really
Griffin.
think
That's
I
the
got
Griffin
that
that
far.
killed me.
Yeah, I don't even remember that part, to be quite
Oh, this
honest.
is part two. It's like the intro or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's beginning intro part 2.
all right. All right, so Jose, how did you truly feel about Dragon Dogma 1?
1 or 2.
One.
1.
Vanilla or the actual complete package?
Let's go with
Well,
the complete one.
yeah, the complete package,
So they made a lot of quality improvements, I will say, out the gate a year later. There were a lot of valid complaints. Some they didn't address. I don't know why. Maybe because they didn't feel they needed to, or the budget wasn't there, which makes no sense because they were able to add more things like a dungeon. But the traveling in the game, to say the least, is not great. So, not to sound like a casual, but I like the way Elder Scrolls does it, where once you go into a town, you just fast travel, or like I guess Fallout, the whole Bethesda open world nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
But with this game, you got to get port crystals, and they're limited, and you put them down in specific areas. Some areas already have port crystals, like the giant capital of the city. There's only one capital, since they didn't have enough of a budget to make more like kingdoms in your starter town. And between those, there's not really much to explore, if that makes sense. There's a few caves here and there, but along the roads, along the terrains, along the mountains, along the water, etc., there's only the same generic enemies that you fight. So there's the same generic goblins, then there's hobgoblins, which is just like slightly buffed up versions of goblins. Then you have saurians, the lizards with the little sticks, and I don't know if it's like a halberd or something. You know what I'm saying? Like those lizards from Berserk. The same ones with the swords, the
Pole
knives at the
arms,
end. The what?
like pole arms.
Yeah. So they have like different variations of that, like yellow ones, green ones, poison ones. The rock ones, and then you have your harpies. Your harpy with the quote unquote censored breast because you can't have that in a video game or whatever. So you have your normal harpies, your snow harpies, and then you have the sirens, which are just harpies, but they heal you. You get where I'm going with this? Like the first game was limited
Yeah,
in
there's not a lot going on in the outer world.
they just had so much fucking. So you already made this enemy, and you already have the animation, but you can't make a new one because there's not enough time. What do? You just reskin it and make it do something else, be it
Right.
more damage or just like it has another different skill. So you have a lot of those in the overworld, and you barely fight like chimeras and ogres. So during the game, but they barely ever like show up unless you know where to go to like fight them when you're bored,
So you know
which
what's
is kind of
funny? In Final Fantasy 12, they probably have like maybe 15 enemy types, but there's like 400 enemies because they're all like reskins. Like you got the wolf is like reskinned like 20 times and shit.
yeah. Like I don't understand. Like I understand it's like a budget constraint or something, but when you're like a big company and it's like a game to that scale, it's like a mainline game. It's kind of inexcusable. But for something like Dragon's Dogma, like I said, it feels more like a AA game. Like it was experimental. They didn't have the budget to do much. So in the grand scheme of things, you sort of understand. Like yeah, there was some things where they had to like cut back on, and there was some things they didn't have time to do. And it's very apparent once you actually out in the open world, like I said, and like traveling and looking around. There's not a lot of stuff to fight. There's not a lot of exploration to do. The story is really not that great. The story is really carried by one character, and it's the dragon itself. From the acting of no, I'm serious. Like the acting of the dragon is superb. Whenever the dragon is on screen, it's amazing. Like it's one of those things where you never skip the cutscene at all.
Hmm.
Yeah, Gregorian. And don't get me wrong. This great like voice acting all around. There's some cringy stuff from like some certain NPCs, but it has its moments. It's one of those things where in Capcom fashion, they give these people a script to read, and it's so cringy, it just gets memed. Like in Devil May Cry 1, where Dante sends some of the cringiest lines ever, but they had like one take only, so the dude never did another take, and it's like iconic for some reason. Everybody loves it. Like in typical Capcom fan, like in the RE games too. Like they had like in the PlayStation and Cove on Dreamcast,
You are
and even
almost a
like
Jill
or
sandwich.
yeah, there you go. You know what I'm saying? In typical Capcom fashion, they gotta have those cringy things. It's fine. Everybody loves it. It gets memed.
What was
You
that noise?
know, and like the game only had like one big capital, bro. So you have like your starter town, which is like a fisherman village, which is fine. It is what it is. No, it's like a poor fisherman village. You a poor son of a gun. The dragon comes. He claims you as the arisen. You're the chosen one because you were the one that showed courage to stand up to this dragon and just came in the middle of this poor fisherman village and started routing everybody.
Mhm.
So then you become the chosen one, and you got to go on this adventure. It's typical RPG stuff.
Right.
But it's like there's not much to explore outside of that and the main town, or I guess the main kingdom, which is like Grand Soren. It's just big things, big kingdom.
There's that one where
There's nowhere else
you're
to.
after that town. There's like the one where you get like where you pawn stuff, and then after that there's like the big Capitol building.
Oh no! I know what you're saying. That little fort. That's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like a. It was not really a fort. It was more like a pit stop, honestly.
yeah.
You just go there. They got like the pawn tutorial. It's like an outpost basically.
It's
It's like
funny.
like a little outpost.
It's funny. I got my
And then
pawn from there. I got my pawn from there, and immediately we go outside, and there's like a cliff there, and I pick up my pawn and I throw him off the cliff.
his first reaction was to drop his pawn, just throw him off. Like I wonder how this mechanic works. Like oh, there we go.
Oh man, I was laughing for like 5 minutes.
Don't worry, we all did it.
I was like, now I can go on this adventure by myself.
Oh shoot!
Oh man, but
Like I mean, it's weird because you could try to do that, and honestly, and it is gonna feel like a Souls like game by yourself, but only if you go to the end game dungeon
hmm,
at a very low level and do it by yourself. Otherwise,
It's
Itsuno's
true.
vision, one of his visions, was that he wanted to make an offline MMO like game because in his childhood he was tired of waiting for people to come online to play games like MMOs and stuff. So he's like, what if I
hmm,
just do this, but
right.
with an AI that's half as smart as a human? And that's how the pawn system was created.
Isn't that just Dungeons and Dragons? Ultimately.
Well, Dungeons and Dragons, you need like actual people with you on the campaign and stuff.
Yeah, but he just made NPCs. He's just playing Dungeons and Dragons by himself.
Yeah, yeah,
That's literally
like
what
the
Suno
AI, the
One is.
AI takes over the roles and stuff.
Yeah, the roles and
Um,
everything else.
Final Fantasy 12 kind of felt like an offline MMO as well.
Hmm.
You had your party members, you would assign them things to do, and then like the whole like the way the zones worked and everything, it felt very much like a MMO.
Honestly, man, I'd rather play Final Fantasy 12 again than Dragon's Dogma 2.
Holy smokes!
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'd rather run around as what was the dude's name? The blonde twink dude.
Oh Jesus, man,
From
we're
what
gonna get
game?
demonetized.
Huh?
The blonde twink dude from what?
Final Fantasy 12.
Oh, Van Von.
Yeah, him. He runs around. I'm Bosch von Ronkenberg of Dalmasca. Don't believe Ondor's lie. I'd rather run around doing that mission, bro. That was more fun.
Oh
Just being a
shit, man.
nuisance and bothering people because that's how I feel like in New York City.
I'm
I walk
Captain
around, I could be a
Bosch.
nuisance, and they just want to give me the NPC fluoride stare. That was more entertaining, bro. Like I'm over
Oh my
here
god.
in Dragon's Dogma 2, 12 years later, routing the same goblins and fucking wolves and harpies, bro, on the road again. I'm like, bro, what happened to the vision? You told me you had a whole vision and you had budget cuts and constraints and you couldn't do it.
So yeah, let's
Like, so
get
we're
into
doing the
that.
same thing.
So Dragon Dogma 1, Itsuno, was this like an interview or multiple interviews where he expresses that he, I guess, didn't have the budget and didn't have like the ability to make the game the way he wanted it to be, and essentially that's what Dragon's Dogma 2 is supposed to be.
Yeah, like he had this. I remember he had this whole map, bro. He had like a PowerPoint presentation. If I could find it one day, I will post it in the chat. And he had like a whole map layout of like an elf section, dwarves, orcs, all these little islands you could explore. Like it was very thought out, and it was like they had it all locked behind like level progression, basically. Like at this level, you go here. That way you don't get routed too early.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe it was like the Zelda Breath of the Wild philosophy. It was like,
Right,
well, if you want to go here at level 1, you can, but just don't be surprised when you get your ass beat.
right.
It gives you the option. And then he had this whole thing hyping it up like at the end of the game. There's like a big endless tower that you fight, and you get to the true end game boss on the moon. I was like, oh shit, it's actually like kind of a cool idea, you know?
On the
Like this
moon.
whole tower just shoots right up to the moon. You have this like giant Dark Souls esque final boss fight that pushes your shit in. I'm like, all right, that sounds pretty cool. But it's like, oh, because of the budget constraints and because like, we didn't have enough time. Like all
The
the
final
sources had
boss
to
is
be allocated to other games and stuff.
the final boss is
You know what?
the abandoned cameraman from the Apollo 11 who they left up there.
Yo, I'm telling you, man, like this game could have been so good if it was just given more time in the oven.
So Dragon Dogma 2, there's no elves, there's no orcs, there's no.
Nah, no orcs. But they don't get me wrong. They introduced new enemies. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. But like it's the same thing that they copy pasted. There's some new enemies. Like there's the Medusa. There's the Sphinx. There are Minotaurs now with battle axes. There's green slime in typical Dragon's Quest fashion, I guess.
Minotaurs? That
Hmm.
sounds cool.
Yeah, the Minotaurs are fine. Don't get me wrong. They're very aggressive and very well thought out.
I posted the presentation in chat really quick if you want to see it.
Oh, you found it?
Yeah, I found it really quick for you guys.
Can you post it in this chat?
Yeah, give me a second. I'll do it.
Then I mean, they still have the same ogres and stuff like that, the same Cyclops. Trying to think off the top of my head because yeah, there's like green goblins now called choppers. Like it sounds silly, but at least they kind of tried. But the thing was, there we go. That's the thing.
Yeah, because I remember seeing this. Like they made a big deal about this video.
So this is behind the scenes of Dragon Dogma 2 GDC 13.
Mm-hmm.
what were you kind of expecting going into the game initially? Like before you read anything or got it or anything?
Honestly, I was expecting the first game, but actually living up to the man's vision. All the cut content that he wanted, plus more. He literally said this was his true vision. Since the very first announcement, he said, "This is my true vision of the game. This is how it was always supposed to be. This is how it should be. I want to be. I want to like thank the fans for waiting. It took 12 years, but here we are. And I just feel like he just turned into Japanese Todd Howard, bro.
Oh, good lord.
This is his
Holy
Starfield.
shit.
Yeah, like you see that dragon, you could climb it. I'm like, oh,
His
okay.
his Magnum OPOS.
Yeah, his magnum opus. No more Devil May Cry games. This is his last magnum opus. He's gonna go out with a bang. Like, bro, it's so bad that people were flipping out over like the microtransactions on Steam and giving the game negative reviews, even though like all that stuff that you can buy in the Steam page or like the PlayStation Network or Xbox store, whatever marketplace, it's all in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah,
It's
you
like
can
for the
access it.
people you could always access. It's for the people that are kind of lazy and don't want to do it, which is kind of weird because you get the in-game currency by completing quests anyway, and by getting Rift crystals, which is like the game's like second form of currency.
Hmm.
So it's not like you're locked behind that. You just have to play the game.
So it's
So
a
it never
not.
makes. So it's a non-issue because it just made no sense to me. Because like, why would you complain about something? You're basically complaining about playing the game that you bought and paid for.
Here's the way that I thought of it when I thought about it a little bit more. Like the essentially, you know how like there's all these mods on Nexus and stuff, and it's like like easier. Like for Monster Hunter Rise, they had like easier this, easier that. Like you could install a mod so that every quest you got more materials and stuff like that. And I think
Right.
that's like some their vision with the DLC, because I think these companies have to make DLC, like they don't have a choice. And so they're like, well, we'll just do it where it's like stuff that people would download a mod for, and like downloading a mod is like 5% work. Like like paying money and just installing DLC is like even less work than that. So like maybe that was their idea going into it, which kind of makes
But
sense
it's
from my
funny though,
perspective.
everybody overreacted when Monster Hunter World and Devil May Cry 5 did the same thing. They've been doing Capcom is doing the same thing for like 10 years, bro.
Yeah.
But I think because like this game was new for because think about it, the first game was kind of a sleeper. Not a lot of people really cared much about it, or they slept on it. I was
Hmm.
one of them. I never really paid attention to this until my friend recommended it to me. So I'm like, all right, let me see what all the hype is about. Like a Japanese company, their take on like a Western medieval fantasy sort of game. And I was pleasantly surprised. Like, oh, it's not the best thing in the world, but it was competently made that it was an enjoyable experience in my eyes. Now,
Mm-hmm.
some people hated it. They're like, oh, it's just mindless combat. You don't really do much. The story sucks. There's not enough to explore. Like, there's not enough creatures in the overworld. You got to go to the dungeon. That's when the real game begins. So, like, yeah, it's just valid criticism, like there is some merit behind it because it's true. Once you get to Bitter Black Island in the first game, it's like a whole other game, really.
It's
You're
just
you're
like
basically
just
starting
a
like a whole,
dungeon. You're basically just going in there and just killing stuff and getting
yeah, like
rewards.
so it's 10 times as harder and more satisfying and challenging.
Mm.
So I guess what people wanted in the second game was like something like that, like a whole game based around that. That I think some people were tired of the open world meme, and to some degree, it is kind of tiresome. A lot of these games are coming out like, oh, it's open world. You can go here and do this. You can go here and do that. But I was like, yeah. Sometimes with like a big map like that, I don't know. It just gets really, really annoying to traverse, especially when there's not a lot of stuff to do in between. When you're fighting the same enemies and the enemies don't scale with you or something,
Right. Yeah.
or there's not like better variations of enemies to fight as the story progresses, it kind of gets boring. And
Even.
then you have a game where it's like I was telling you earlier, like the
Mhm.
whole travel system where how you gotta well now you have to buy port crystals or sometimes But if you want to have more port crystals, you got to go and kill some drakes. It's the only dragons really in the game that matter, honestly. You get currency from the drakes in the form of worm crystals that you farm, and then you go to a dragon forge, basically the guy that sells you this stuff. Like, oh, you want a port crystal? Give me this, and then you can put it anywhere. That's another thing too. Like, this game is really like, I don't know what's the currency. They upped it a little bit. So in the first one, you had a stone that was infinite that could make you travel from place to place. Because that was one of the criticisms from Vanilla Dragon's Dogma 1, that the fairy stones were too expensive
What are
and
the
you
fairy
don't get
stones
enough of them.
for?
Oh, it's a travel,
Oh,
fast
okay,
travel.
right.
The port crystals are basically the locations where you could put them in to fast travel to.
Oh, here's the moon.
Yeah, you see?
So a thing about the whole open world thing, it's like I played Elden Ring when it came out, and I put like 100 hours in
Oh my
like
God.
the first few days, and that was just me exploring the main island area, like the first area. And like after a while, it's just like there's nothing here. It's like it's all crap, and like you could spend like a lot of time getting levels and like searching around. And there's almost nothing there, and it's like not until you leave the main area and you go out into the world that you start to find the harder areas. But still, at the same time, just nothing really there. It's like there's still like a main kind of path you can go towards to like get through the game. It's just like there's a big open world. It's like do whatever you want, but there's nothing really there. But I mean,
You see,
at least
that's
in
my
Elden
problem.
Ring, there's like kind of more enemies lingering around the world. So if like for Dragon's Dogma, like one you were saying like there's not that many enemies lingering out, like I might get bored of that eventually.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if there's nothing interesting in your open world game, then people are gonna get bored. Like, and there's a lot of quests where they tell you like, oh, okay, you're in this town. Now you gotta go all the way to the side of the map and talk to this dude. And I'm like, damn, so I gotta take like an hour in real time to like walk and fight a bunch of lizards and goblins just reskin. They don't even have like higher HP value or do more damage or anything. They're just like the same thing with a different color. You get tired of that after a while. It's like, oh, I gotta go through here and there. And then when you're trying to fast travel, it's like, oh my god, like I can't afford this fairy stone, or I should have bought a fairy stone. But then again, I didn't know that because I know this guy was gonna like throw me all the way to the other side of the map to do a quest. And to be fair, you don't really know that your first time. But as you keep playing, as you play the game again and again, you sort of know what to do, where to put all this stuff in preparation.
Yeah, of
But
course.
we're going in fresh mentality. Game just came out, whatever. These are all like valid criticism, and Itsuno knows this because he came out and he was basically saying something to the effect of, "Well, we don't want to have like a fast travel system where you just like breeze through everything. We want to feel like the players want to explore this world and like see how fresh it is, how organic, how alive, and all this stuff." He was basically saying all this silly stuff. That's why I'm basically gonna call him the word because everything's just a lie at this point. It's like you're basically like, don't even get me started when you get to like the desert area. When you get to the desert area, it's just the same thing, but everybody's red. I'm like, okay, like what's the difference? Like I'm still finding the same goblin, but he's like more red than the other one. I'm finding lizards, but they're made of rocks. Like
I
what?
mean, it's not too different from what they were doing with the older Final Fantasy games, where they made them different colors, because of the memory limitations. But I understand what
I
you're saying.
know, bro, but I'm just saying, like, think about it. After 12 years, and then this is all valid criticism from the first game, and it basically transferred over to the second game. And then you have another director. Think about it. It wasn't Itsuna that even directed the expansion. It was another director, the same guy, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that did the Dragon's Dogma Online, also did Bitter Black Island
Mm.
Hmm.
expansion pack.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have
And
to
then
look
when you
look
play this expansion
that
pack, I'm
up.
telling you, the enemies are never really the same. They don't recycle per se. Every time you go in, it's always a different group of enemies you fight. So it's never like, oh, I gotta go in this room and fight this reskinned goblin or something. No,
And it's like
like yeah, you'll
different.
go into a room and there's a dragon encounter. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the same dragon encounter. Like it won't be just a drake breathing fire on you. Maybe it'll
Right.
be a frost worm doing spells and screwing you over with a bunch of endgame spells, and then you got to find a way how to counter that. Or
That's
maybe it'll be
interesting.
one drake and a frost worm throwing spells on you, or in or like for example, the Forbidden City is the big ass open area in Bitter Black Isle before you get to the big boss. There's two sets of
Uh,
enemies. There's the living armors, which is self-explanatory. It's possessed living armors with thunder worms that do a bunch of spells on you. So you're getting hit from the sky with thunder, and the worm can sometimes fight you. And you have these possessed pieces of armor, and you have these other characters called Eliminators too, which is basically dudes with minotaur heads or like masks with big giant hammers that could come and just beat the crap out of you.
There's a
You get what
lot.
I'm
There's a
saying? There's
lot
like a
more
bunch of
dynamic mechanics, and then the configuration of the enemies, like the different, like if you have three different types of enemies, like their configuration basically, like it changes how you approach the fight. Essentially,
exactly. You see what I'm saying? Like it changes. It's not the same thing.
yeah. So like I've played a little bit of like the Sekiro randomizer where it like has random enemies from the whole game. Like in the first area, you can have like late game enemies. They're scaled correctly, but they have different moves and like they are faster or slower than the other enemies, and it's like it becomes a whole different game just because of the variety and like the configuration of different enemy types in the same zone, the same arena.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of people loved the expansion pack to that game. It was a scummy move by Capcom charging you $40 when they said, oh, it's going to be a free expansion and everything. But when
Wow.
you think about it, it's like a whole other game. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, we'll excuse you this time because you didn't have enough budget to do it. And you're basically giving us like a whole other game for
Right.
40 when back in the day they used to cost like 60 and stuff in that era.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like you had 12 years, bro. Like, don't get me wrong, the game wasn't in development for 12 years. Obviously, it was they said they were developing it for like 4 or 5. Like, yeah, okay, I know COVID and everything, but it's like
Whoa, whoa,
everybody
whoa,
suffered from
whoa! We're on
COVID, bro. Like,
YouTube,
you can't
dude.
use that as an excuse.
We
Like,
love
you
COVID.
have to.
COVID was great.
oh my!
We had a lot of 2 week. We had the longest 2 weeks to have vacation and get paid by the government. It was great. Anyway,
Yeah, bro, but like, it's like you can't use that as an excuse because every other company was suffering the same thing, and then you have the foundation for this game already in place. Basically, what everybody wanted was the same thing from one plus the expansion, just on a broader scale. Like just introduce more enemies, pour over those enemies, more dungeons, more cool end game stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't hard to mess up the game. The formula was literally right there. That's all they had to do. They just take the first game and just make it bigger and better. I don't understand how you can mess that up, but they found a way.
so this is the guy.
Yeah, that's him.
So apparently he's lead game designer for Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, but I don't know how true it is because now that he's lead game designer, how true his input was into this game. I feel like because think about it, he did do Dragon's Dogma Online, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
It
see what
says
I'm
he's the
saying?
director for Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen and Dragon's Dogma Online. And yeah, lead game
You see what I'm
designer,
saying?
like you're right. It's never too sure like what these roles exactly mean. You know, a lot of the time, like it'll say one thing, but
I don't
really
want to.
all he
I
did
don't
was
want to
like
be.
work
I
on
don't want to
something
be a.
else. Go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
don't want to be an asshole and speculate. But deep down, this is my opinion. Obviously, it's not true or whatever. I feel like he had some inputs like, yo, why don't we just port over some creatures from like the past games and then we won't have to, work twice as hard. Like the foundation is right there. We already got the animation, we got the moves, you know how they work already. We already did them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like as soon as like, nah, I don't want them. I want something new. I want something fresh. I want those goblins in, bro. I want those harpies in. I want those same wolves. And it's
new,
like, ah,
new and
shit,
fresh.
bro.
What's new and fresh about that?
Yeah, like we got to make those wolves red instead of black and gray now. Like it's crazy, man. Like I could just sit there and just imagine. Yo, I would love to be a fly in that room, bro.
Fly on
Just
the
to see how
wall.
that whole meeting went. Like, oh, should we port these guys? Like, nah, we can't do that. That's a waste of resources. Yeah, but we already have the animations, and all we really have to do is just make better textures for them and meshes to put on the Resident Evil engine.
Do you think they
Nah,
had trouble with the engine?
I don't think so, man.
Because I
No,
mean, they're still experimenting with the Resident Evil engine. You know,
they've
it's a
been
different
working on
type
it
of
for
game.
so long that I think
They've been working on that since
they've
like
got it.
2015 for Resident Evil 7. And they
I,
released like how many? They released like more than 10 games for that engine already by now.
Yeah. Monster
I
Hunter
mean,
Rise, the new Monster Hunter,
From what I'm
Devil May
hearing, it's
Cry.
supposedly even easier than MT Framework to work with. So
oh, here we
if
go.
anything, I just think I don't know if it's laziness or they just didn't want to do it. They just were like, nah, people don't care about that stuff. They just want to see harpies and wolves and
What
goblins.
if we find out is that he still didn't have the budget or the time needed to work on his Magnum OPOS?
Bro, then at this point, I think it's just safe to give up and retire, bro. Like, Capcom's just not going to give it to him.
Oh my god! So
Like, he's either going to have to. He's either gonna have to leave and make his own gaming company or find somebody to like give him a fucking budget. That's the excuse.
he's
Cause
gonna.
I don't get it, bro. Like, how is it that this dude that made Bitter Black Isle and the Dragon's Dogma Online had the same shoestring budget, but he was able to create a better game? At some point, you got to think about maybe it's not the budget, maybe it's the director, maybe
Yes,
it's the
it's
creative person in charge.
how you put those resources to work. Like,
Oh
cause
my god! Now that
you
I'm seeing the skills on the video, I didn't even get into the skills,
so
bro. Like
like.
the skills
Oh
for the
shit!
classes, they
Mhm.
were cut, bro.
What do you mean they were cut?
We used to have 8 slots for your skills, and it got cut down to 4. Some skills
Uh,
aren't even button assigned. Now they're like core skills integrated into your class, which is kind of lame.
passive
So
skills.
Mm,
so like the sorcerers used to have like holy magic and dark magic and a lot of other spells. Yo, they got cut.
no, wow! Look at this shit.
That
Yo, a
sounds
game from
awful.
2012, bro, and like all this stuff was in it, and then now they cut it, and then they even cut vocations too. I remember there were vocations that you could have a dagger, bow, or a sword and a bow. Now it's just straight up just archer.
Yeah, that was like
You just
the rogue had like the knives and the bow.
Yeah, you had the strider class, you had the
Yeah,
assassin class,
Strider.
and you had the ranger class. They all had daggers and they all had their bows. But no,
Mm.
you gotta make generic thief classes and generic like bows. Oh, this is the dragon herpy guy I was telling you about. See how he has a little herpes on his neck and stuff.
Is this the final boss? Am I
Yeah.
spoiling it?
No. This is just like a fight you do when you come back to one of the towns of Melv.
Okay, I'm just like, what is this shit?
Yeah, but it's like it's scripted, bro. Like if you it's type of stuff. Like if you don't explore, this is the thing with these games. I will tell you, these games, if you don't go back and explore towns, you will miss stuff like this.
This looks like Monster Hunter to me.
That's cool.
Yeah, like the only fun thing is obviously fighting the dragons, and trust me, you have to nail that. It's part of the title.
Yeah.
So if you can't even if you can't even do that, if you mess up the main antagonist, the fighting dragons, then what the hell is the point?
Man. I mean, I'm
Jesus.
So
gonna
you
be honest.
nailed
Like
it.
the dragons in the Dark Souls games, they're pretty garbage. They're like really bad fights. So even in Elden Ring, they're kind of bad fights. But this looks at least a little better. You know.
It is like you could climb them, you could hit their weak spots, you could come together. Like, bro, there's parts where you could even like inflict like status ailment moves. Like torpor is a move in the game, like it slows them down, or you could poison them and stuff like that. There's like strategic stuff to do to them.
So
That's
what's
another thing. They took that out of this game too. The poison and the torpor, so you can no longer do that. Now you just wail on them. You just like
uh
wail. So now it becomes a little bit more button mashy.
those guys are about to get routed.
Yeah, look
So
at them go, man.
so what's the verdict on this then, Jose? What?
I haven't beaten it 100%. I know I sound like one of these fucking like game reviewers that just play like 5 hours or something.
No, you're giving a lot of
Game
points.
for what I'm playing, it's good for what it is. Don't get me wrong, because at the end of the day, the core mechanics are still there. It's the same game. It's just that they need a little bit more to basically make it better than the first one. As it stands now, the first one is more bang for your buck. This one, I just feel like they're gonna do something in typical Capcom 2010s, like the DLC that's gonna save it. You remember how when Monster Hunter World came out and everybody was complaining about it, and then the DLC came out and everybody was like, "Oh, they redeemed themselves." What
That's
was the
like
Rise,
that's
right?
like every Monster Hunter game though. They've always done the main game and then the expansion game.
It's
Yeah,
every
that's what I feel like they're
Capcom
gonna do
game.
with this. They're just gonna do that, man. They're just gonna come out. I think there was a leak too. Like when the Capcom game started leaking, like I think one of the things was an expansion for this game in the fall of this year.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
it's just funny to me. Like you already have this thing planned, but you didn't put it in the game because you just want to charge an extra $40 for it.
Man, the Capcom Classic. They want to sell you the Super Edition. That's it.
He's
Super
putting
Dragon
all
Dogma
the
2.
acid coming out of his like herpes pus.
Oh,
And
Harpies,
this is a real
harpies,
mechanic,
harpies,
by the way.
harpies
I'm
plus.
being dead ass with you. I don't care if it spoils it for people. 'Cause I think it's a dumb mechanic. It's called Dragon's Plague. Basically, your pawns can contract herpes if they
Harpies.
go in and
They
help.
contract
Yes,
harpies.
yeah. If they go and help other people in their world, and then like if a dragon like grabs onto them and captures them or whatever, just spews on them or whatever it is. And if you don't catch wind of it, basically complain about how they have headaches. They'll be have like little animations where they're holding their heads and being all fuzzy and dizzy. Their eyes will be red. They won't obey you. They'll say things that they aren't supposed to say. Like basically, they'll start acting like humans
they
with intelligence. Like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I'll do it my way. How dare
they
you order me around? Type of
they
thing.
also kill other NPCs, right?
Yeah, they do. If
It's
you go to
fucking
sleep at
wild.
an inn, they kill the entire town,
Uh,
Oh shit,
and it's
Ace.
soft lock. It's soft locks. You have to doing quests. So
that's
basically,
crazy.
your entire save is screwed, and you have to wait till New Game Plus.
Oh no.
I've heard that if you pass like 14 days of in-game time, they come back to life. I'm not too sure about that. I never tested it out, but
Hmm.
this is what I'm hearing. But I know the Dragon's Plague thing is true.
That's
It's
kind of
not
funny. You
it's not great, but it's just hilarious to me. Like this is Tsuno's vision, dragon herpes.
know? Dragon harpies. You mean?
Yeah, I was
You keep
like,
mispronouncing it. I don't know
Virus,
why,
I'm
why
man.
you
just
keep
bro, I'm just here sitting watching this stuff, and I'm playing this game. And like the more I play it, I'm like, damn, I waited 12 years for this. Like I
Get,
legitimately had thoughts of just going back and playing the first game with a different build.
get right.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just glad I didn't pay the 70 for it. I paid 50 something.
So, do you think it's like a budget thing where they're like, we can make more of the like updates to the game, but we could cut things out and then release the game in this day, and then like in a year or 8 months or whatever, release the Super Dragon's Dogma or whatever.
Yeah, I feel like they're gonna do the expansion bullshit and then sell the entire package. You're gonna do with the first one, but it's not
Mm.
gonna be for budget. They're gonna say that's probably what it is, but deep down, I just feel like they just. I just feel like since the Japanese fiscal year was supposed to be up soon, they needed a game
Mm.
to just be thrown out there, and this was sadly the scapegoat that had to be the one to go out there when they needed more time. It basically needed like a few more months, honestly, and it would have been probably fine if they had the time to start porting stuff over and adding like more endgame stuff, more dungeons, and more enemy scalings and more enemies on the overworld to justify like traveling and not wishing for a better fast travel system and stuff. And then yeah,
Jose, is the guy I'm watching? Does he suck? He's taking a long time to beat that dragon.
nah, but believe it or not, the dragons are like the only really hard part of the game.
Okay.
Like everything else, you could just basically mop up. I like after you hit level 15 to 30, everything just becomes like kind of samey, and you can sort of kill it. Because you got to think about it, these creatures on the overworld, they don't really level.
Did this dude make?
It's not.
Did
It's not
this
like Final Fantasy
guy
8 where this shit.
make? Did he make Dune Kid? Oh, he made Timothy Chalamet his game. What is this?
Oh my god.
Paul Atreides. What is it? Look, he's in the desert. What's going on? He had the shield on earlier. Something with the shield around
Yo,
his
that's where the
body.
red wolves are, bro, in the desert.
Oh my lord.
There's only 2 biodomes in this game, bro. Grassy area and desert. No snowy area, no water world, no nothing. It was
I
just,
saw
it's
like
just
a I saw like a gray beach. Something.
that's just part of the grassy area, bro. Let's be real. It's an illusion of like, oh, it's a water world or
Just
something.
getting in there. He's taking a big sniff right now. Look at him.
Yeah, it's a big sniff of that ogre bun. The big whiff.
I mean, the game looks nice, but at the same time, watching it, I feel a little bored. But it's just me, I guess. Just a me
Monster
issue.
Hunter.
No, I'm not gonna lie to you. It is gonna get boring because you're gonna be finding the same stuff and you're gonna know how to tackle it. And then like you're gonna be finding the same low level like fucking. There's one of the goblins right there, a reskinned goblin he's fighting, along with the griffin.
Hmm. So, what would you like to see? Either would you like to see a free update, or would you actually pay if they actually did it right, like a Dark Arisen type update to the game? Pay for that?
Honestly, if they did do a Dark Arisen type of update where they add more stuff, be it in the overworld or just in like a dungeon type thing, like if it's a whole other game and it feels that way, then I guess. But I just feel kind of bad, like you paying $70 for an unfinished product. But I guess that's just the business practice now. You just take a game, it's half finished or like 3/4 of the way there. You sell it for full price, and then you promise people you're gonna fix it with later updates. Didn't No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk do the same thing? It got
Yep.
so much backlash, and everybody was like, "You can't play this incomplete mess.
Pretty
Like you
much.
guys promised this and this and this," and they're like, "No, no, no, we'll fix it." And it took them like a year or two to fix it for people to actually like, "Oh, okay, now it's at least somewhat enjoyable."
From what I understand, at least No Man's Sky, they added stuff that wasn't even promised, and they were just like the fan base was so like they redeemed themselves to the fan base essentially because they
Yeah,
added
they
they
really
added
did.
stuff that they didn't even ask for or like wasn't planned. So they were like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I guess eventually they did add multiplayer and stuff.
You see, with Capcom, I feel like these dudes wouldn't suffer the same backlash, but I feel like Japanese people are too hard headed, man. Like they won't admit to their own faults, and their own eyes are like, oh, screw them. We'll just give them a little bit, and like just give them enough that they'll
The
stop
Yakuza
complaining.
money.
Yeah, give them
It's the
enough that
Yakuza money.
they'll
Just say
stop
it.
complaining. Like Monster Hunter Rise, like I enjoyed the game, and then the DLC came out and it was fun to play through it. But then eventually it's just like it just felt like an afterthought. It didn't actually feel like they actually had any real solid plans for what they wanted the game to be.
Yeah,
That's what I
so
fear for the next game too. It's just gonna be like
that's what I feel is gonna
whatever game.
happen. To go back to your original question, I feel like they're gonna make an entire expansion pack, and it's gonna be like, yo, we're sorry guys. This was totally in the works, but we just didn't have time. We understand your frustration, but this is part of the game experience now. Like, this is the complete package now. We didn't mean to lie to you. It's just that we didn't have the time to do it. They might pull out the budget card shit again. I don't think they're gonna give us free updates. They're probably gonna put free stuff like a hard mode or the ability to have multiple saves or something. Because that was a problem with the first game. They didn't have like a hard mode, or they refused to have saves,
So
so you only had one save.
is Is New Game Plus
They give you the
not like increase the difficulty or anything?
Nah, New Game Plus is like the first one. You're just OP starting off, and you just breeze through everything. Yeah, you know, it's one of those things. Don't get me wrong, it sort of works in the first game's favor to some degree, because if you breeze through the game, it gives you a few more levels. Not a lot, obviously, but it can help you if you're tackling Bitter Black Isle for the first time and you're not leveled up enough to like survive it.
Right.
Because when you first go in there, you are gonna get your ass beat, and it's gonna be a little difficult. And you do need the Isle to actually beat that game without too much trouble, I guess. You can still use the end game stuff from vanilla. Dragons, don't get me wrong, you can still do it. But
Do you loot?
if you're one of those people that
what
just
do you
want a
keep
smooth
when you go to
ride,
New Game Plus?
yeah.
You keep everything or
Do I keep? Yeah, I just keep my old stuff and I just breeze through it just for the levels, honestly. If I want to do like a new game with a new vocation, I just overwrite my save and just go with a new class. Because at that point, you know, I'm trying to play the game again, but with a new class to make it, you know, a newer experience. I don't want to just be the same thing. Like,
right?
oh, I'm level 50, but I changed my class. I'm still gonna breeze through it and kick everyone's ass, you know.
So
But
like
shit, I
if
don't
I
mean to cut you
launch
off,
no,
but I
no
forgot about it.
go ahead.
I forgot to mention one more thing. In the original game, there was something called the UR Dragon. It was a unique fight with a huge dragon, bro. I'm talking about this thing would take you hours to beat, but it was fun to play. You could
Mm,
either fight it offline so it could die faster, or online to be on the leaderboards to see how well you do.
mm.
And nobody, yo, it was so much fun. It was so hype. I remember back in the day, people would be like, "Yo, I beat the dragon and blah blah blah. I used this strategy, whatever," and you will get rewarded handsomely for it. I remember back then, it will give you like end game gear early, and it will give you like free wake stones. Wake stones is what you use to come back to life if you die. So it gave you like 20 of those for all your hard work.
Mm.
But there's nothing like that in this game. There's no like secret boss fight where you could go and like do that.
You think they're gonna add any of that stuff at all?
I doubt they're gonna have a UR dragon, man.
Like free updates or anything?
I feel like the updates will just be like quality of life stuff. Like they're gonna have to fix the frame rate issues in the towns, because the towns,
Yeah.
if you notice it when you're in the towns, like the NPCs, bro, when you first come in, like they pop in, man.
So,
It's like a PlayStation 1 game. Like
somebody told
they
me
take a while to just load in, and you're waiting for the guy to talk to, and he's not even there. And like the FPS just dips, bro. It'll go from like 60 or high 70, 80 to like just straight up 30s and like sometimes 20s depending on your CPU.
somebody told me that they killed everyone in the town to increase the frame rate.
Yo, I wish,
That's
bro.
crazy.
I
That is
wish.
that is crazy.
Even
That's
if it soft
insane.
locks you, at least you could at least complete the main quest. Even if it soft locks you out of like side quests and shit.
So
That's
if I launch
insane.
this game, can I like straight up skip everybody and just run into the desert or something, or run to fight the pimple dragon?
Nah, I. The thing is, with these games, it's not like you can't just run to the final boss fight.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, you have to advance the story and able to get to the final confrontation with the dragon. Not this fight. It's just like this is like a normal Drake fight.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not
But
going to the last one.
but for this thing, it's like scripted. You know, like you have to come back to like the first town after a while, and then you see it, and then it'll start a side quest with a character that you meet. So
You
then,
link the UR dragon.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna
there's a
put
show.
people could find it if they want to look at it. I won't pull that up.
No, it's for Dragon Dogma 1, not for 2.
Yeah, but still, people might
Yeah.
people might want to go back
Yeah.
to that game. So Duke, you've been kind of quiet. What do you think about this?
No, no, this is wonderful. I mean, Jose did a wonderful presentation in terms of laying out what Dragon Dogma is, how he felt about the game, what Itsuno envisioned, You know how the game ultimately turned out
I'm
and
still waiting for
everything.
that vision.
Still waiting for the
I mean,
vision.
Yeah, bro. Or I guess I'm blind to it. I don't know.
while you guys were talking, I wrote down some game that I found interesting in terms of adventure action games that Capcom made over the years. And I felt that these 11 games,
Eleven.
maybe Capcom, yeah, these games that Capcom made, maybe they accumulated some type of knowledge, from these different franchises to ultimately create a Dragon's Dogma. And I'm gonna read them in no particular order. I have God Hand here. I
Mm-hmm.
have Final Fight Streetwise. I have Beatdown, Streets of Justice. I have Okami. I have Maximo, so it's going to be Maximo 1 and 2. Chaos Legion, Shadow of Rome, of course. Onimusha, the Devil May Cry franchise, Monster Hunter, and Sengoku Basara. The main reason why I found those games interesting because I think those are like the only adventure games that Capcom were doing at the time before they even worked on Dragon Dogma. Is that deep down?
Yeah.
Yep.
What's crazy about this fucking game right here? I really wish that they would have actually completed this game. Like this, I think this was supposed to be their souls. I think this is what Dragon Dogma was supposed to be, and just they just don't want to admit it. Or this was supposed to be the next step of like the uh the Ghosts and Goblins franchise.
Mm.
I think they were using that for influence in general.
So, did you ever hear about the concept for this game?
Not necessarily. I
Nah,
looked.
outside of
I
this
tried to
trailer
look
they
it up.
showed, I'd never really heard much about the game.
So you see,
It's just
I
been like
you see this that just popped
abandonware,
up.
bro.
Apparently, the game was like you were like it was almost like a Mega Man NT framework type thing, where you were like a little person or something, and you would like
yeah.
log into the fantasy world and like like some weird stupid thing like that.
Oh really?
Yeah, look, this was part of it.
Wait, so it's basically Code Lyoko is what you telling me?
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah, this was the concept for it. I don't know why. I don't know why. It was so out
Uh,
of pocket. It was just like, nah, just make a game with knights, please.
Apparently, it was playable. There was a playable version.
Mm.
So who knows what they wanted to do with this fucking game?
Was this it?
You know?
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah. See.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like this was like a legit game. Like there's a lot of footage of it and stuff.
So was when did Dragon's Dogma come out?
The first one came out in 2012, and then they released the expansion plus the base game again in 2013.
So was this before Dragon's Dogma?
I think it was slightly afterwards during the PlayStation 4 presentation, like when the PS4 first came out back in 2013. They were like announcing a few games that they were in development
Yeah,
for it.
2013.
Yeah,
Mm. That's so weird. Yeah, this looks like a soul. This looks like a Souls game.
it's really good.
What the hell are they doing?
I don't know. They have too many good ideas, but they never flesh them out for some reason. This is modern day Capcom.
They're autistic like that. Capcom's known for doing weird, development decisions like that. They'll work on something really good and they'll go cancel it. We don't have the money. Let's just pump out another Monster Hunter. Like it's just
Yeah,
that
we won't
simple.
talk about Mega Man Legends 3.
Oh, don't get me fucking started, man. Don't get me started. All right.
So was there like you were saying earlier in the chat? Was there like some drama between Itsuno and the other guy, or were you just like being a meme?
I don't think it was drama, honestly. That was just me speculating and a few other guys online. Like, I feel like they maybe clashed on certain things. Like, why don't we just bring these guys back and port them into the game? And Itsuno's like, nah, I don't want to do that. Let's just make new characters like a Medusa. So you had the evil eye and you had a cockatrice. They basically do the same thing. They turn you into stone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I guess in Natsuna's mind, he's like, why would we put these lesser obscure things when we could put Medusa? Everybody knows what a Medusa is. It's a thing in all those, stop motion movies and Greek mythology and whatever.
The Ray
But here's the
Harryhausen
thing.
monsters.
But here's the thing, though. The Medusa, you fight it in the beginning a little bit, in the beginning. It's not a spoiler. It's 5 minutes into the game.
Mm.
And then you don't really see it again unless you go out of your way to find it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you make this big deal about this big bad creature that you designed, but then you make it a little bit of a pain to fight or find. Sorry, find. And a lot of people might not even see it on the first playthrough. They might not even explore the cave it's hidden in because they might be hit with the fatigue of like, well, I'm tired of exploring because I'm fighting the same dang goblins for 20 hours. I'm not seeing any rewards for this. And then you have the Sphinx, which was Sphinx, whatever.
Sphinx.
And
Hilarious.
and it was the most hyped up thing. It had all these trailers like, oh my god, it's like this hot girl phase with the big boobies, whatever creature. It's like, oh my god, the Coomers around the world rejoice. I'll show you later.
The Coomers.
And yeah, and sometimes I can't talk out of my butt on this one because I don't know if it's a main quest or you have to go out of your way to find it. What I do know from what I read is a few riddles for the Sphinx, and then if you get the riddles right, you get to fight it.
Oh.
However, how to actually defeat it is based on a riddle for its weak spot. So it's cleverly made. It's one of those things like, all right, it's cleverly made, but it's a one and done thing and you can't really fight it. Or if you screw up any of the riddles, if I believe the second time around, not the first set of riddles,
So
you can't
if you
fight it. It just
die
flies away and you gotta go to
oh,
a new game. And
maybe
then it's like there's only one of them that you can fight. The same thing with Medusa. I think the Medusa respawns every 14 days or something. Don't get me wrong, the first game had stuff like that too. Like you had to rest in an inn for 7 in-game days, like a week basically, to get like the dragons to respawn. Or if you wanted to go back to Bitter Black Isle or something like that, you had to rest at the inn for like 3 days for everything to respawn again. So it's the same thing. It's the same practice, but for some reason you would think they would have more of the same creatures to fight on different parts of the map. Cause like if you beat a Frostworm in one location, you can still go and fight another dragon somewhere else in the map. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to rest just to fight the same dragon. You can go do something else, fight another dragon. And then after a while you come back and fight another dragon. You know what I'm saying? There's
yeah,
options.
I'm not a big fan of like the respawning thing. Like it'd be cool if like there were a bunch of them, like you're saying, like a bunch of them on the map, and like you fight one in the desert, one in the forest, there's one in like a mountain or something.
Yeah, and as time goes on, the one you defeated first respawns, you go back and fight it.
Or like
But there's
that
more of
one in the
them.
mountains has like a different attack, or he's got like goblins around him, so it changes the fight a little bit.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong, they do stuff like that. Where they make a Cyclops, and then they'll make like a Gore Cyclops. So it's basically like a bigger, buffer, better version. Or they'll have like the Elder Ogres, which is like a better version of an ogre that hits harder and is smarter. It actually knows, and it detects you climbing on it. It'll like jump, try to smack you off, or just land on its back to like squash you. You know what I'm saying? Or drop kicks you more often. But it's like a lot of that stuff is absent in the second game for some reason. They do bring some of those like tier 2 creatures, but they don't bring them all back, and they don't bring a lot of those fucking old enemies that were in the expansion of the first game, which is weird. And you like if you made a sequel, like you Dennis, I don't know, who's you're making the
I
game,
don't
right?
know anything about that. What do you mean?
Oh no, bros.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking, if you were making a game and you were making a sequel to said game, wouldn't you want to make it bigger and badder and
Oh yeah,
try to try to
I would reuse everything possible. I mean, the thing is about Capcom is that they're like the pros at reusing stuff. Not a lot of people
exactly the
notice
pros are
this.
reusing stuff. The pros are making you fight the same bosses all over again. It's like, what's wrong with these people, man?
All of a sudden, they don't want to do the main thing they're like not even known for. Like the thing they get away with and nobody notices, which is like awesome, honestly. Or that
Like, it's
nobody
crazy.
cares, you know.
Like, didn't Itsuno make a whole fucking game where you do the same thing but in reverse? It was called Devil May Cry 4.
I didn't play that one.
Like, you do the same shit you did as Nero, just with Dante. Everybody, and I'm like, yo, but we gotta fight the same goblins and shit. It's like, come on, man. Like, at least do something creative.
Oh man, part of me wants to say that they're just saving it all for some expansion where they're gonna charge either full price or like close to full. Is this a $60 game or a $70 game? What are they doing with this? Is this quadruple A or whatever?
Oh,
The
part
as the
two is
journalists
definitely
like to say.
70. It's $70, bro. You know it's AAA star. It's not double A like the first one.
So this game cost. I mean, not this game that I'm watching now, but Dragon's Dogma 2 costs 70 right now.
Yup, 70 right now.
Yeah,
You
so
could get it for 50 something if you go to
right.
key sites for Steam and stuff like that. But
Well, I mean, we don't want
it's
to promote that stuff, you know.
Promote away
nah.
all the Russian keys. Get your identity
I
I
mean,
will
stolen.
say you can just
we're not
Google
trying to
it.
get demonetized, you know.
You
Demonetized.
can just Google
We've
how to
been
do that.
demonetized by the demons.
I guess like it's relax with the piracy, all right? Like let's
Just
not
to be fair, we do not
give out
condone
any website.
piracy.
Yeah, okay.
Only if
We
you
don't
own the
support
game
piracy.
do I.
Buy the game, guys, and find out for yourself.
Oh my god.
Or wait for a sale to see. Watch videos online, if you really can't wait.
Man, Jose, thank you for coming and informing us on the current state of Dragon's Dogma. Any
Yeah,
last words for everyone?
I mean, hopefully they can fix it in a few coming months or a year from now, and it becomes better than the first game. If not, then it kind of is what it is. It's like a monkey paw situation. Yeah, we all wanted this. Don't get me wrong. Everybody that was there from the beginning or joined on board throughout those 12 years waiting, we all kind of wanted a sequel to live up to the expectations and quote unquote the vision. If this is truly what his vision is, and this is what he wanted, then so be it. Life goes on, man. The guy wanted to make this game. He made it. He could retire if he doesn't want to make more Devil May Cry games, I guess. That's what Capcom is like forcing him to do nowadays, besides this.
How much does this game sell?
Which one?
Dragon's Dogma 2. How much did it sell so far?
If I remember correctly, not that high as of yet. I think it's doing low numbers like Rise of Ronin is, or whatever
Oh,
that game is that came out.
oh, it's not looking good.
But from what I'm hearing is like Capcom just had to release something at the end of the fiscal year. So
I mean, yeah, to get those numbers, for the investors. Oh, it's not looking good right now for Capcom.
Someone wrote an article saying that they think not only is Dragon's Dogma 2 gonna be the game of the year, but it might be the greatest game of all time. I was like,
oh my
you,
god.
bro?
Yeah,
Who the fuck are you?
Maybe that was me inhaling copium a few months back, but I've come off that.
I read that shit like last week. I was like,
I came off that train very soon.
Wow.
Like I was huffing that copium, but
Hopefully, after Elden Ring, people have some money left over to get an expansion for this if it lives up to the hype, because it certainly didn't. but no, I was watching this, the Bitter Black Isle in here, this video I've just been playing, and I've just been noticing like different enemy types. Like there's like knight, there's like a weird snake thing he was just fighting. There's a whole bunch of different enemies. So if anything, I would recommend. I don't even know. but from what you've been suggesting, I don't know anything about it, but this seems more like it has more stuff going on. The Bitter Black
Yeah,
Isle.
like right now he's fighting the Dark Bishop, another unique enemy or boss, I guess, to the first game's expansion
Yeah, like this looks like way more
with the
stuff
Cursed
going on.
Dragon and the Dark Bishop. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's different things. And there's bro, it's so funny. The game has death in it, literal death, sight and lantern and all.
Death?
Yup,
What do
and
you
he's like
mean?
the wait, is that him right there? There you go, he's right there.
Oh, death. You mean death?
There you go. Yeah.
I thought you meant like you lose your hearing.
Oh no.
Oh
But he
crap!
has,
Legitimately
true to
deaf.
his word, he has an ability. He one shots you and your whole party,
Oh crap! Is that
and
it?
he's
That's
super
awesome.
hard. Unless you come in prepared and know how to take care of him. Don't get me wrong. This is what you could trivialize how to beat him. But as a first player, as a first time player, it's gonna be hard as balls. You're not gonna know what to do. You're gonna be running away and trying to come up with strategies and stuff to try to take him down. He has the most health out of anybody in the expansion. He's a very tricky enemy to try to fight without getting killed and trying to have your party survive.
So, if I were to recommend a Dragon's Dogma game, I would say Dragon's Dogma 1, Dark Arisen, get that one. And if Dragon's Dogma 2 ever gets an update or something, or goes on sale or something, then maybe consider it. Would you agree with that, Jose, for the viewers?
Yeah, 100%. The first game with the expansion on Steam, you could get it sometimes when it goes on sale for $5.
Ooh,
Honestly, for a game that's $5 now, you could honestly pour 2, 3, maybe 400 hours into it. And I know it sounds ridiculous because the story is not that long. However, when you start playing as different vocations and you go to Bitter Black Isle, it's going to be very time consuming, but in a good way. It's not a bad thing. It's a good way.
nice
It's a
little time
very
sink.
great thought out. It's a very great thought out dungeon. It takes a game that honestly I love it. It's one of my favorite games of all time. From a 6.5 to an 8.
Wow, better more
That's
than Resident
that's
Evil 5?
I don't know about that. The mercenary mode and RE5 kind of hard to top.
Well, again, thank you for stopping by, Jose. We hope to have you again soon. We talk about some other topics sometime. Duke, do you have anything you want to say to the viewers? Any
I
offensive
mean,
things that'll get us demonetized?
this was legitimately amazing. I I just wasn't aware that Jose had this vast knowledge of Dragon's Dogma.
Beautiful.
You know, I was strapped into my seat, just allowed the
It's not like you're falling
knowledge
asleep.
to through me. Yeah, man, it was amazing. You know, it was amazing. Jose was
I
talking
Tired.
read him
about.
an enjoyable bedtime story.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Amazing. All right, everybody. Good night. This is
Good
my
night.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. Until next time.
oh, this and
Oh, this enough. Hi, hi.
that.
Where's my punk? Play
We're
my
not in that
punk.
chat room. I can't do it.
Uh
Good night, everybody.